So hello, we're in the kitchen and we're going to make our compound butter. So we were in the garden previously and we collected our horseradish, which is a lot smaller than normal, which needs to be peeled and grated. The strength of that is going to be very strong though. The other ingredients we have for our compound butter are some chives from the garden, obligatory in France but everywhere in the world. Some nice garlic. We've got some really nice quality sea salt, Maldron, some French butter, and a mix of, can you see in there? It's a mix of different peppercorns. So
we have a pestle and mortar here. To be able to crush these up. It gives a lovely fragrance. It's the best way to do it if you have one of these, but if you don't, you can just buy ready crushed peppercorns in the supermarket.
Yeah, peppercorn mix in the supermarket, it's fine.
So I'll just finish peeling this for you.
It's really important to remember with all the recipes that we do, don't be afraid of food. You know, like you can always just use your experience or what you like to. If you can't get hold of a certain ingredient, you know, it's not that difficult to change it up with something else. For example, you know, if you couldn't get chives, leek would be nice, or shallot, you know. So if you can't get leek or shallot, onion.
That horseradish is really strong. Like
Yeah.
Stephen said, it was a smaller one we took out of the garden, and I mean you can smell it from here. I don't have to put it next to your nose.
It's really cool.
So we're gonna grate this because you don't want to have any chunks of horseradish.
Very finely grated on the fine part. Yeah.
I'll just grate this in here.
Yeah. And so this is a compound butter. If anyone doesn't know what compound butter is, it's a really handy thing to make for any dish because you can do it beforehand. So if when your guests arrive or when you sit down for your special dinner, it's kind of a pre-made butter sauce. And so what you're doing, basically it's so simple. You're just flavoring a butter and you're going to roll it. It'll set in the fridge again. And then when you cook something, fish or meat or vegetables even, you just take a good slice of this flavored butter and leave it on top and it slowly melts. So you don't have to worry. It's a really cool thing at the last minute when you're making a dish. It's like you can just know, okay, well that side of it is done. It tastes good. I know it's good, and it's really handy like that. Okay. So we're making a compound butter for a côte de bœuf, which is a rib of beef on the bone, which we got
in a local butcher's
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
We've been aging it ourselves. It was quite fresh when we got it. So all we've been doing is we have it hanging in our fridge. Our fridge is on the highest possible setting, so the warmest setting that the fridge can go to. And that way it's just sitting there and slowly aging. And aging really means dehydrating, kind of, because all you're doing, it's like anything, you're reducing the moisture within the meat, which intensifies the flavor. If you think of anything that's dehydrated, anything where you're taking out the water, a sauce, anything that you're doing, if you're reducing the water content, you are increasing the flavor content. So, and also the aging process in the beef changes the molecular structure of the proteins within as well. So it's very easily done. So we'll talk about that when we come to doing the beef itself.
I'm just crushing these peppercorns down, and you'll see kind of a fine powder kind of in the bottom of the bowl here, and there'll be some rougher kind of husks that you don't want in your compound butter because they'll just kind of stick in your teeth and they won't be very pleasant. As you can see, you probably can't see it, but I mean that's our pepper there being mixed around. So what we're going to do is just use the sieve and try and just take out those
husks. Yeah.
The husks.
So what you're left with then is like just a more refined consistency. Because what you don't want, what we don't want in this compound butter, I mean, it depends what you want to end up with. What we don't want to end up with is something too unrefined, too raw. So
you probably can't see it, but
if you do it,
if you can see,
this
you can
way,
see it.
maybe you can go. You can see it is
as
quite
opposed
powdery.
to kind of these more coarse parts of the
I
pepper.
think even a little bit more would be good.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we've had our butter sitting at room temperature here for about an hour, so that it's nice and soft and easy to manipulate in the KitchenAid here.
This is just the garlic going in. Again, we're using the gratiers just to try and keep that consistency fine.
Okay.
So other compound butters that are really nice that you can do. Fish is a really, really, really good one for it. You know, you can do finely chopped dill, some caper, some pink pepper. The same way Lily's doing it there. Red. Some people call it red pepper. We call it pink pepper. You don't need to use the mortar and pestle for it. If it's just red pepper, you can just use the sieve, and it'll take off the husks. And don't ever throw the husks away, because they still have tons of flavour, and you can make an oil out of them. You can still even use them in seasoning in casseroles and other dishes, so don't waste anything that way.
Okay. So you're ready for me to...
Flavours. Yeah.
Is that enough for you?
Yeah, that's great. I think about just over half is good.
Okay, so I'm just going to cut this butter here. It's nice and soft. This isn't the salted butter, so we're going to add some salt into it.
Yeah, this is the sea salt. And then on service, we're going to also, obviously the beef will be well seasoned, but we'll finish with just a sprinkle of that salt on top of the dish anyway, and the butter.
Okay.
So
there we go.
That's a good example of. One day we'll invent smell-o-vision.
Okay. So the butter is lovely and soft already, so I can smell it from here. The butter's already really soft, so it's not too much effort for this to kind of mix around. So, let me show you. It's lovely and soft.
You could add that in while it's mixing.
Just to show everybody this.
Okay, the consistency.
You can imagine anyway, it's really soft and spread out, which means it makes it easier for our ingredients to go in. I can put
it in now, but it's not running.
So we have chives, horseradish, peppers. What about salt? Get some salt in there.
Salt's in there.
That smells great. It's looking good. There we go. Maybe a spatula would be good.
You got that?
I've got a spatula. There we go. Now we need to get every little last bit off this paddle. Paddle is the best tool to use for this because your butter's lovely and soft. So there we go. You want to roll it?
Parchment paper, yeah. You can see there quite well.
Will I bring the camera across?
Yeah. So the thing, this is the biggest lesson I'd love, we would love people to take out of these videos that we're doing and stuff, is just not to be afraid of food. And remember, if you experiment a little bit, what's the worst thing that can happen? It doesn't taste amazing. It's still going to taste okay anyway. So enjoy it. And like, if you don't have one thing, don't say, oh, I can't do that dish because I don't have that one thing. Just think what flavors go. So with a roulade, this is what if you're making any roulade, not just this, if you were making like a chicken or meat or any vegetable roulade, you kind of fold over there and then push down into here and you get like a consistent shape.
Yeah.
And then the amount that you twist here will determine how thick it is. We don't want it too thick, I suppose. But you can just see it takes a nice shape now. And this will just set back in the butter in the fridge. It's such a simple thing. And I'm sure lots of people have done it before, but that's our compound butter ready for our Côte de Bœuf.